Hi, my name is Henry, and this is a year in review of game dev with Unity. So I've been wanting to make a video for some time now, but it's a bit hard to come up with the courage to put yourself out there, put your creations out there on YouTube for the whole internet to see. In the past, I messed around a little bit with game development, but I was always working in Java, trying to make my own game engine, and there was just too much to do. So finally, when the pandemic hit in April, my wife and I, we had our first daughter, Hope. And so between paternity leave and not being able to leave the house, I wanted to pick up an extra hobby, and I decided to go in depth with game development, and specifically I found the game engine Unity. I found a lot of tutorials. I was following Bracky's tutorials and many others like his to learn how to use the Unity game engine. After some tutorials and familiarizing myself with the Unity game engine, I went off and created my own platformer. I created 5 levels. I did the pixel art and A-Sprite. I was pretty proud of what I had, and I felt like I was ready to take on a bigger challenge, a game that I've been wanting to remake for a long time. I set out to remake the We Play Tanks game. I felt like the We Tanks game was an easy game to remake. There wasn't a lot of systems. It was just a shooter. You didn't have many abilities, and I'm not very good at art, so I felt like I could just use cubes and do it in 3D. But then scope creep kind of ruined my game with that. I started adding a bunch of features. I tried to improve the AI. I still wasn't as familiar with Unity as I probably should have been before taking on a bigger game like that. I tried to learn how to use particle effects. I was making AI using the nav mesh. And then I decided that I wanted my friends to play, so I decided to make my first game multiplayer. And I have a working prototype, but I just kind of crashed and burned as I spent too much effort trying to figure out things and not making a lot of progress. I tried to make a smaller game, and being inspired by Slay the Spire, I wanted to make a card game. I wanted to make a card game monster catcher. So I started building the prototype for the card battle system, and I got decently far. I thought this would be easier because there was less animation, less art. Turns out there's a lot of art because it's mostly UI. But I have a working prototype, but again, I bit off more than I could chew, and I kind of burned out with that project too. So finally, I decided I need to really cut down and make a small vertical slice. A small prototype that I could deploy, that I could finish. I could add music and art, I could add sound effects, and I would get as much as I can from the Unity asset store, although I did want to try and do my own art. So after not using pixel art since the first platformer I made, I went back trying to make some pixel art. I made all the pixel art for this small arcade game based off of the Bomberman, old arcade game. I had randomly generated levels, I had music, I have the bombs, I have a win condition, I have a fail condition. I'm pretty proud of it, even though it isn't perfect. I have a turn system for the movement, and it's a bit slow, but I really like it, and this was the first game that I actually published on itch.io, and I shared around to my friends and family and got some really good feedback, which gave me the motivation to try a similar thing. So my next project that I'm still kind of working on is I made a game inspired off of Boxy Head, which was this Flash game that me and my brother and my cousins used to play. It's a wave, top-down, zombie survival game. But there's not a lot of systems in this again, and it's arcadey, so I felt like this is something that I could do, that I could handle myself. Again, I made all the art. Top-down was a little bit different perspective than what I tried before. It took a little bit of time to get it right, but I'm happy with what I have. It's still not completely done, but I do kind of have a prototype. There's waves that come in, you have guns, you cycle through the guns, there's music, there's sound effects, animation. That's where I am now, 1 year later. You know, I have a bunch of failed attempts, a bunch of failed prototypes that I've never really got off the ground, a couple tutorials that I've followed, but all those are on my old computer that is crashed and the screen is broken, so I can't access those things. But yeah, I'm not really sure where this channel is going to go. I would like to start a devlog series, finishing up the zombie wave game I have now, and hopefully one day I can use this to get a game development job. Right now I'm a full stack .NET developer for a defense company, and I'm much more interested in video games, so I'm going to use this to hopefully launch my career, and who knows where I'll go.